It was fine.
In Charleston?
Yeah.
Not here. I'm
Oh,
saying you should have stayed
That's why
there.
we left.
Pretty icy this morning.
All right, 5 o'clock. Welcome to Peterborough Select Board meeting for January 3rd, our first of the new year. Happy New Year, everyone. I forgot we haven't seen each other in a day or so. I'm Tyler Ward. With me are fellow Select Board members Bill Kennedy and Bill Taylor. We have Town Administrator McStay with us at the table and Assistant to the Town Administrator, Allie Kreutz, taking our minutes. Chief Walker in the audience, a couple Budget Committee members in the audience for anybody that's watching on Comcast Channel 22 or Ustream or YouTube. Reminding everyone that all of our meetings are archived for future viewing. Tonight's agenda, we're going to hear from Chief Walker, 2023 ambulance rates. We'll potentially vote to approve requests to expend from trust funds, and those would be monies from the Water Capital Reserve, Sewer Capital Reserve, and the Bridge Restoration Capital Reserve funds. We're going to debate whether we're vote to sell some property owned by the town on Greenfield Road to an abutting property. And then we have minutes from December 20th, 22, way back last year, that we'll discuss and vote on. And then at 6 p.m., if anybody wants to step out for a break after this meeting, come back at 6 p.m. for our joint Budget Committee Select Board meeting. All right, up first. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, sir. So, back before you again this January. So, as you know, the Town of Peterborough Ambulance Service maintains a fee schedule that's approved by the Board of Selectmen, and it sets the fees that we charge to individuals who provide service to. Those fees are broken into various categories. We have what are BLS, which is basic life support, essentially non-invasive procedures, ALS1, ALS2, advanced life support depending on the criticality, and then there are also some non-emergency rates for BLS for some of the transfers that we do with that. So the major payer, if you will, in the country is CMS, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. They cover everybody who is a Medicare or Medicaid patient and set the rates that they will pay for those folks. This year, with the cost of everything doing what it's doing, their ambulance inflation factor is 8.7%. So they are increasing 8.7% what their reimbursement rate is from 2022. So at the recommendation of our billing company, and the same as we've done in the past few years, I'm before you folks tonight to ask that we consider increasing our ambulance rates by that same 8.7%. So that would be across the board, and I think if you look at the second page of the piece I have for this, is our new rate. So we had our 2022 rate in it, and what would be in that is what the proposed 2023 rate is. The only things that we're not looking to change there are down the bottom are our ALS intercept rates. ALS intercept rate is when our ambulance sends either an advanced EMT or a paramedic to another service that doesn't have one available to provide those advanced level care, provide that advanced level care to a patient that may need it and bring them in. Those rates, the reason we have those there is under your insurance guidelines, only the company that transports the patient to the destination can bill for that. So if we go and Jaffrey or Antrim or Sohegan Valley transport that patient, this bill is a way that we recover some of the costs that we have for sending those people there and performing those procedures. Those are pretty close to the difference if you look at the difference between what it would be between a BLS rate and an ALS1 rate or an ALS2 rate or the specialty care rate. That's where those amounts come from. So again, the thing to keep in mind and to point out for with here is that although we're going to increase our rates 8.7%, that doesn't mean we're going to see an 8.7% increase in the revenue on the ambulance side. As you folks know, the only ones that we pretty much know exactly what's going to get paid is your Medicare and Medicaid patients, because that's through a contracted rate. We still run pretty good in our overall collections, and we'll have all those numbers for part of our budget presentation on the 17th. But we'll have, for the rest of that, not everybody pays. Not everybody pays the full amount. I mean, even within a lot of it, we are very active in working with people that are not in a position to pay financially. We use Mann Community Hospital as the vetting service, or whatever hospital to transport to as the vetting service. And as those hospitals determine eligibility for discounted care, we apply that same discount across, for our bills also, to help those folks that may not be in a position to afford, 100% of their cost. So again, this increase this year is keeping in line with what we've done in past years. And again, it's based on that, what's called the ambulance inflation factor that CMS sets.
Right. Which is quite a jump.
It is. I mean, and it's similar to, unfortunately, it's an indication. I mean, it's not exactly what our increase in costs are either, though. I mean, you look at the 8.7. If you look at it, I mean, a lot of things, whether it's especially individual components, whether it's diesel fuel or utilities for the building, or some of the equipment and supplies, those costs are going up by at least that, if not more.
Way more, I would think.
Yeah.
Especially these.
Any questions? Nope. Anybody in the audience have any questions?
needs to be done.
Yeah.
Hi, Ellenis. I have just a quick question about supplies.
Yep.
Are they built into that, or are supplies a separate category?
Supplies are built into this.
They're into
Yeah,
that, okay.
yeah, so this includes supplies. The only, you see the miscellaneous codes there, the A0999. Those are the only things that we will bill separately for. Everything else incorporates whatever we use to treat that patient. A lot of our supplies are replaced through the hospital. The agreement we have, the medical resource agreement we have through Mann Community Hospital covers a lot of the disposable equipment that we use. Intravenous fluids, IV star kits, so the needles, the tubing, things like that are all replaced through the hospital. All of our medications are provided through the hospital for that. So our disposables are, things like gauze, bandages, ice packs, those are things we're replacing. But a lot of the true medical equipment are resupplied through the hospital, and then patients billed through the hospital for that.
And you need an official vote from us to
Yep,
accept
yes,
that?
an official vote, and the effective date will be the 3rd. That's the date at which CMS is implementing these changes and making these changes available. So I've already spoken to EMAX Medical Billing. They're ready to go with this affirmative vote, and anybody today forward would be billed at the newer rate.
I make a motion that we accept the rate changes. Second.
Any further discussion? Sounds like all those in favor?
All right.
Aye. All right,
All
thanks,
right,
Chief.
thank you very much.
So good.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay. Trust funds.
Still asking.
Do we even need to discuss this?
Do you have any questions?
I had a question that I would have asked, but I
Yes,
forgot to. Excuse me. Does this include the rate we bill other towns?
No, this does not. That's a different calculation. That is based on the budgeted cost, the actual ambulance service budget, and then it's charged out to the towns based on a blended formula, 50% based on the town's population, 50% based on the number of calls to that town.
What was the question?
We're talking about how we charge out to the other
Yep.
communities.
So the way our fee is calculated for the other communities is we look at the operating cost for the 911 part of the ambulance, and then we have our reimbursements, which is the money we receive back from our insurance, through our patients. We then take that delta and allocate that using a formula which is 50% town population and 50% call volume. So for example, if we're $500,000 short, you have your $500,000 amount that's then split in an equally weighted formula by percentage of population and percentage of call volume. And then that $500,000 is divided up. It's closer to 800,000, I think, or
Yeah, it's
790, 8 and a quarter, something like that is that delta. So for example, the town of Peterborough, last year, 57%, I think, 57% of total call volume population. So we paid the money that the town of Peterborough is being asked to pay is 50% of that delta.
And when does that discussion happen as far as
It happens for us in September. Those rates have already been set because the other communities need those numbers really at the same time we do, but they're getting ready to go to town meeting in March because they're all calendar year. So they go to town meeting in March, so they're all setting their budgets sooner than we are to finalize it. So those numbers are set going forward. So we use our actual revenue and our actual expenditures to calculate those.
As of last September.
As of last fiscal year.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. That it?
Glad we could catch it.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. And we'll plenty more time on the 17th for these questions, the rest of them, I'm sure they'll come up. All right.
Thanks
Do
again.
they have a copy, is that in your packet, maybe the attachment A?
No.
I'll just have- I'll bring a copy.
Yeah, bring it
Make sure
up,
we-
or we'll
okay.
send it out ahead if
Yeah,
you want.
okay. Cool, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. I'd make a motion that we vote to approve the request of $185,000 from the Water Capital Reserve Fund, $223,423 from the Sewer Capital Reserve Fund, and $24,433.73 from the Bridge Restoration Capital Reserve Fund. Does everybody remember that bridge project in town?
Vaguely.
It's really
Yeah.
quite
There is a
quite nice.
bridge project in town?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Just a point of information, is that money that you're going to spend somewhere else now because you're asking to take that out of reserve? That's to pay some bills? Is that the way I should think about that?
Yes, so those are actual costs that we're offsetting with money that we've had saved.
Thank you.
Another point of information. There's a hole in the road, in the bridge by the post office that I've been going through. Does that mean that bridge is deteriorating, or is that just a surface problem?
That's a pothole. There was a patch there that got ripped out by a plow.
Okay.
So that happens every year. You'll sometimes get patches when they heave up a little bit, the plows catch them and it's easy to finish.
Yeah, don't worry about that bridge. We're talking about nice,
Brand spanking new.
Yeah, just don't go that way, just go over
Like the
there.
other way.
That bridge is scheduled for renovation.
Yeah, that's what I thought, I had heard some.
Yeah,
it's in the queue.
and Seth will get into some detail on that next week.
Right.
I'm trying to prolong the meeting.
Yeah.
Good one. All right, I would make a motion that we vote to sell the town-owned property on Greenfield Road that can be referenced here for anybody that doesn't know about this in our archive videos from the last several public hearings we've
Or
had.
last 4 meetings in a row, we've talked about it at some length.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Now, I presume the negotiations are going to include the caveats that the Conservation
Yes.
Committee
Yeah,
had suggested.
I should think so, yeah. So we'll, I'll reach out to the abutting property owners and we'll get that process started.
More discussion in the audience.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, what's your applause? It's time for a vote to sell some property. Yeah, put that in the place.
Really dig.
Select board applaud.
Give them big numbers for 4 weeks.
Yeah. And did anybody read those minutes? They were great. Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve those minutes from
I'll
December
second
20th.
it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that finishes our business for till 6. We do have a budget select board meeting at 6 where we'll have a presentation of capital improvement plan, draft budget and townwide impacts, and also hear from departments, administration, finance, human resources, health services, human services, and miscellaneous budgets. And thus starts our week-to-week budget season, right? Does everybody have their uniforms for budget season? Here.
Now, do we need a motion to adjourn this meeting, or?
You just recess it for the next 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yay, recess.
I've got an interesting anecdote from the conference that I went to this weekend.
Great.
I sat on a panel that they're talking about revitalizing cities and so on and so forth. There's one woman on the panel who is on city council at this small town. They have a mayor and a city council, and the council is comprised of 8 people, which is kind of an odd number, but in any case. So she was complaining about the fact that they could never get anything done. They just simply sit around and they bicker. And all this time I'm thinking, boy, city council, mayor, that makes things so much easier. And I said, you know what you need to do is you need to hold a meeting only once a year. And 8 people, can you imagine, with 300 people? So she thought that was pretty interesting. And their town is only like 6,000 people as well.
Should we bicker more?
I think we should.
New Year's
I'm on board.
resolution.
Need enough.
More big green this year for New Year's resolution,
When did you get back from Vermont?
before you got back from South Carolina. We were back for New Year's.
Oh, you were? Oh, the kids gone home?
Yeah.
The neighbors from across the street. In fact, they took refuge in our guest room.
Well, actually, Janine and I took refuge